Madalyn O'Hair, who is now passed away at the time of this this taping. She was murdered along with her son and I believe it was her niece, all at the American Atheist Center by one of their co-workers there at the American Atheist Center, who I think, if my memory serves me correctly, was embezzling money. It had something to do with finances, and to cover his tracks, he took the three of them, killed all three of them, buried them out in some cow pasture somewhere, and then a few years went by, and then later he admitted to it, and he showed the authorities where the bodies were buried, and they were able to confirm that it was Madalyn O'Hair's bones in that grave because she had had a hip replacement or something. And I remember reading in the news that, you know, they were able to match that hip replacement bone or something with the bones in the grave there. And so, you know, she was murdered by one of her own atheist co-workers who, following the philosophy of atheism, where he obviously thought he could get away with it, didn't see anything wrong apparently with killing three people.
But hold on a second. What exactly is wrong with that? I mean, we would say, well, that's against God and what He commanded. But an atheist would not say that that was against God because it wasn't God. Well, you say when asking atheists, well, was it wrong? I mean, he wanted the money. You know, many atheists would say, yes, that was wrong. But then you ask them, why? Why is it wrong? Why is it worse to kill a person than to kill a flower? And it's like, they have no basis for saying why it's wrong.
It's just their opinion, their subjective opinion.
Yeah, apparently the atheist that murdered her didn't have enough reasons himself to see why it was wrong. But you ask any atheist, what is your basis for saying that's wrong? And I have yet to hear an answer.
You're totally right. Well, with that said, Steve, let's go back to some more debate clips, and we'll just come back on the other side with the viewers here, and we'll see what we come up with next.
What was the New Testament written in? What was the language?
I would be delighted to find out.
You
do you have any idea? No. Do you? And this New Testament
Greek.
that you have. Oh, and this was
Yes.
written the first year after J.C.
Madam, you know, in the history of the world,
any other time
what,
in the world,
Mrs. Murray, are you contributing?
I'm contributing, I hope, some reason.
We have a person on the phone.
Would you compare yourself, of course, to our Lord favorably?
Yes, yes,
listen, I wouldn't even let him lick my boots. Jesus Christ has not influenced the total world because Christianity has a very small hold on a very small part of the total world population, and it always has. It's been extremely localized in Europe and then over to the United States. And there's a kind of a funny version of it down in South America, which has to do more with their own pagan religions down there than it has to do with the so-called Christianity, because there are overlaps in that culture. So actually, I don't think that in the history of the world he has had as much an impact as Confucius, or as Buddha, or as many of the other figures of this kind. He is particularly known to us in our culture because we stress him. But go to many other parts of the world and he's completely unknown, has been.
John, can I say something? All right.
Equal to.
But yet a moment ago, unhesitatingly and unblushingly, you affirmed for us the historicity of Confucius, about whom we have even less data than Jesus Christ. How do you account for this?
Now, this is your opinion, again. And
Quote me some
now
sources.
you are an expert on Chinese history.
No, ma'am. I'm an expert on comparative religion.
You're an expert
Quote me
on
the
physics.
sources. No, I'm
and
not.
you're an expert on
No.
Chinese history.
No, no.
And you're an expert
Comparative
on
religion.
I didn't bring. You noticed that
You said Confucius.
Now I want to tell. Let me tell you
Oh,
something.
no. You said
You
Confucius.
keep
Tell me
quiet.
how you know he
You
exists.
keep
I will
quiet.
keep quiet.
You have with you a
tell
gentleman
me.
tonight who has brought along a
no.
suitcase full of
Tell
books
me
so
it's
that you can
Confucius.
quote them.
I haven't
You know what
quoted
I
any of
brought
them.
along? I brought along nothing. I'm perfectly
I agree
willing.
to that 100%.
I am perfectly
Nothing.
willing for you to send me a letter down in dear old Austin, Texas, and I will send you the historic proof for Confucius. I didn't bring it with me tonight. I'm not concerned about that.
No, just one moment.
I don't have to
You
stand
don't
to
know
prove
anything
him.
about it.
Here we go again.
You got to go back to
also
Austin to look it up.
You are also an expert on education of Madalyn Murray.
No. I'm an expert on one thing. Madalyn Murray.
On St. Martin's version of the Holy Bible.
Madalyn Murray, with her Society of Separationists, makes statements and gets a lot of publicity on the idea
You
that
hate
she...
that, don't you?
No, I don't. I think
You
have
just
a,
love that
I think you have a
publicity,
right. I think you have a right to do it as an American. But you know what is objected to? It's objected to the vindictive and the malicious manner in which you attack all religion and clergymen and then proceed to try and make it look as if you're a martyr.
It's not when anyone seriously sits there and says that someone died, and after 3 days of death they arose and rolled back a stone and then had a meeting with their disciples and descended into heaven.
Ascended into heaven.
What did I say? Descended.
Well, don't forget.
I'm sorry. I think you're out of your mind.
Well, the question as to what can or what can't happen in the universe is a question that can be determined only by investigation. Nobody can sit in an armchair and say resurrections don't happen.
Look, I don't think, Dr. Montgomery, you're going to convince Madalyn Murray of...
I don't think you can convince anybody that someone can be dead 3 days and arise. I don't think...
Well, by the same token, you're not going to convince Dr. Montgomery that he is wrong either. So let's, at this point, move on with your calls and comments.
There's something here that's very important, and that is this. If the religious community can convince us to be so irrational as to accept the Bible.
Oh, folks, this is just an aside. I picked up this particular magazine, the American Atheist magazine, at the Atheist Center, not at the American Atheist Center, but at their national convention at the Wyndham Hotel in Austin, Texas, years ago. I also picked up their other tracts and literature. You know, there is no God. A few biblical contradictions. It's interesting when you look at their contradictions, it's obvious that they don't have a clue what the context of the Bible is, because it's ridiculous when you go through what they say are contradictions. And if you know anything about the Bible, they're not contradictions at all. But anyway, just briefly to mention the fact that I once had the door slammed in my face by Madalyn O'Hair herself. And I thought I'd just briefly mention that little story to you. We had done a 4-hour video series for cable access TV on atheism, the religion of atheism. Madalyn O'Hair's son Jon called me because he was upset about our presentation on atheism, and he wanted a debate, and he gave me directions how to get to the American Atheist Center so I could set up the propositions for the debate and where it would be held and all that stuff. So I got directions to the American Atheist Center, which was an unmarked building behind a bunch of tall bushes and trees where you couldn't even see it from the road. And when you got to the building itself, it was totally unmarked, and it was nothing but two-way mirrors. And you couldn't even walk in the door because it just said press button to ring a bell or something. So I go up there after Madalyn O'Hair's son gave me directions to get there so we could set up for this debate. I go there, I ring the bell, and I think a secretary, somebody's going to open the door. I'll go in and we'll work out the debate proposition. What happens? Madalyn O'Hair herself opens the door, opens it slightly, and then kind of leans on the door and blocks the doorway and is leaning against that door, and she looks at me and says, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I was called by your son Jon to come here for a debate proposition to set up for a debate." And then she says after that, "Debate? Who are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm from Dayspring Evangelism, things of that nature." And she gets this really bad look on her face. She goes, "Oh, you're one of those Christian nuts." And then she stepped back, wham, slammed that door right in my face, and I'm staring at myself in this two-way mirror of the door. So see, I said this, she said that, I said this, wham. But anyway, that was the end of that debate. If you like our YouTube channel, please subscribe by clicking on the subscribe button and then by also clicking the bell above to get an automatic update whenever we produce another YouTube video for our CAnswersTV channel. Please share our videos with your friends and relatives. May God bless you. Only one life will soon be passed. Only what is done for Christ will last. To see the full-length video, please select by tapping on the first screen to the right. To see the entire playlist where this particular video is found, select by tapping on a touchscreen on a cell phone or by clicking on a regular computer. The second screen to the right.